out with the load a little bit. It was just a game where I thought we had good looks and we didn't shoot the ball well. You know, the defense in the first quarter was not great, but as poorly as we shot it in the second quarter, I think we outscored them by 7. And I think we held them to whatever it was, 13 points, and we shot the ball poorly. So for us, we were going to have to get some more stops. And, you know, I think for us the biggest difference was even though the number of threes made by us and them looks close, it was just that our volume was obviously a lot higher than theirs, and they were a lot more efficient than we were shooting the ball.
I know that from you know, that's a lot of that stuff's off the box, but it seemed like they physically took you out of the game from the start. They were closing on everything. You know, Bam got on, DeMar sort of limited what he could do, and it just physically seemed you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take a look at the film, but I mean, DeMar was the only one who was scoring, you know, in that first half. I mean, I think he what's that now? Yeah, I mean, I think that we got off to a really good start offensively. It kind of dried up for us a little bit. And again, I think some of it was we got relatively decent looks, I thought. You know, I'll go back and look at the film and see what it looks like. You know, they're definitely physical. There's no question. I didn't think where I thought we struggled in that first quarter was I didn't like our spacing. I thought we got caught looking at DeMar too much. We didn't move into some open windows and open areas where we could pass it. I thought when we did get downhill and we sprayed it out, we generated and manufactured some stuff. It was hard for us, I thought, in the beginning part when we were not scoring and they were scoring in that first quarter because we were playing against a set defense the whole entire time. But, I mean, they switched up. They started with Bam on DeMar, and then they kind of switched back and went with a normal, you know, lineup there. So they did that on and off. But, I felt like DeMar, you know, was the one guy, at least in the first half, that was scoring for us. Like he was getting some spots and finding some opportunities for himself. I thought we missed some stuff at the basket, and I'm not taking anything away from them. They obviously did a really, really good job. I think we could have made some better decisions on drives. I thought we had some opportunities when we did get downhill. We could have sprayed it out a little bit more, and we obviously didn't finish some plays.
You mentioned the mental part and the mental discipline it takes at this level. It just seemed there were some instances guys were complaining about no calls and just seemed the physical. Is this team just an awful matchup for your group and what you guys do or what you guys lack? It seems, you know, last year's game was different, but at the same time, come crunch time, come physicality time, they just outwilled you guys. Tonight it just seemed like they were just playing basketball, not complaining, and you guys were doing some frustration things that you've mentioned the last month or so.
Yeah, I mean, maybe on a particular play. I mean, I don't know all you know.
There was one time where DeMar didn't get a call and kind of just laid underneath the basket and then play, but it just seemed that wasn't the only one. I mean, there were some other instances.
Yeah.
They just come out and play and play physical, and it seems your guys get caught up in things.
Yeah, I mean, maybe a little bit. Like, listen, I mean, we did. First of all, we just didn't shoot the ball well, right? And Sam, you and I talk about this. I'm not a big believer it's a make or miss league. I never believed that, okay? But the bottom line was we physically competed in that second quarter and held them to 13 points and battled. Those guys battled, you know what I mean, now. And I thought we came out in the third quarter and got some some pretty good stuff. But, you know, you look at the Philadelphia game, the way it was a low-scoring game. These games, to your point, they're gonna be like that. It's going to be ugly, grind out. Could we have been better in those areas? Probably. You know, I wouldn't say we were perfect. I think our guys were trying to compete. I felt that way, you know, from the bench. I thought there was a couple plays like Kobe went for that. I went for a loose ball and a long pass. I think Love threw it long. It got kind of deflected. Kobe dove for it. Like, there was plays there where I thought our guys were trying to mix it up a little bit. And we tried to get to the glass. We generated some second chance opportunities. But to your point, were we graded at the whole entire game? No, but I don't think that it was like we were complaining the whole game either. You know, I think our guys tried to battle through a very, very difficult shooting. And listen, I do think a big part of this is, you know, this is, I think, the part for even like Kobe and Ayo consistency-wise, where they're at this level against Atlanta, and then you got to be able to come back. Maybe not that he's going to score 42 points again, but, you know, just keep coming back. We got to do some more of that. I think our guys competed. I do think the game was physical. Where I struggled more, I thought at times they drove the ball through us. I didn't like that, you know, but I thought like the loose balls, and I thought we were really battling and trying there a little bit.
And then the second part follow-up to this, obviously we're not going to get you again for a while. And this is all fresh and open wound, but so this is a big picture question. How would you guys justify bringing this group back? I mean, to me, it seems like this is, we bring up injuries, we bring up all of this stuff, but at the end of the day, it's a result league, and this is 3 seasons of falling short of what was expected or what was hoped for. Do you guys really have to do some soul searching and say it's time to go in a different direction with this group?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to speak for Arturis. I'm just giving you my. Yeah, no, I'm giving you my opinion. And this is without any conversations with Arturis, but this is just how I feel. I think in my conversations with Arturis, the feeling was, can we generate and create, some continuity, with the group? I mean, I think that was kind of the overriding thing. That continuity just never happened, quite honestly. I don't believe it happened, and the reason it didn't happen because we've got basically 2 starters out. So it really, and again, I think, and I've said this from day one when all this stuff happened, I think there was enough in that locker room to compete, and whatever it was after the start, we got 5 or 6 games above 500. Certainly we want to be better than that. I'm not like championing that, but what could have been a very, very difficult, challenging, disastrous season, those guys turned into an opportunity to get to the playoffs 1 game away, and we didn't earn that. So I think the plan, at least in my conversations last year talking to Arturis, was let's see what this group, let's get this group together, with the understanding that Lonzo was probably, we knew wasn't coming back. So it wasn't like, we got this news this summer that we knew that. So I don't know where he is, with that. I don't want to speak for him, but I do know that at least the plan, my conversations with them was, hey, let's keep the group together. They're continuity. Let's see what this looks like. Let's see if we can make a step of growth. Got to get more connected as a team, all that stuff. And with the way the season kind of unfolded with several different injuries, it's really, really hard to sit there and say that because there was no continuity this year. There just wasn't, really from start to finish, we dealt with maybe a lack of continuity. But I think that was the initial goal, was to try to create some consistency.
But at the same time, maybe this is just a roster that can't have continuity, that can't stay healthy. I mean, their ability to be available is not there. So, I mean, does that have to go into the thought?
I think this is just my guess, and I have not, like, the one thing I appreciate with Arturis, and I've said this to you guys, when there's stuff like really pressing he needs to talk to me about, he does, but he really just allows me to focus on the team and the guys and the next game and those kind of things, and I appreciate that. So everything that I'm saying right now is just my opinion on it. I would say that he's probably going to look into all that. That would be my guess, but I haven't had any conversations to sit there and say what he would be looking at. For me personally is, how do I get better? How do we get better staffing wise? I mean, I've always said that that's the first thing I'll look at. He'll probably end up talking to me about the team and, what his thoughts are from the year and all that other stuff. Again, it's a result oriented business. We didn't get the results ultimately that we wanted to get as competitive as we were. But I would say this, from my standpoint, being with these guys every single day, I really, really, really appreciated and respected how hard what they did this year for each other and for the organization. Because, like I said, you're 5-14, you're not even in the playoff picture at all. They fought their way back. And you know what? I think at times we did play good basketball. We were not a great 3-point shooting team all the time. There was things that we lacked and weren't great at. But I thought that the spirit and the fight and the way they tried to compete was really, really good all year long. But I think to your question, Joe, the biggest thing is going to be those conversations once I have. But I do know, at least going into last year, that was a thing. And I don't know how they're going to view the feeling of let's create continuity when there was no continuity,
Billy, I got sort of a 2-part question. They're both related. Your 2 biggest, or your free agent acquisitions, Torrey Craig and Javon Carter, didn't really play in 2 must-win games.
Yep.
Why was that, number 1? And then number 2, the flip side of that is Dalen Terry, sort of second-round guy, became your 6th man. I mean, what does that say about him and his future?
Yeah, Torrey was cleared to play. So this was totally my decision. I don't want to make it seem like there was any ailment going on. Okay, it was like my decision. And at times, I didn't feel like he was necessarily moving like he was capable of moving all the time, and I think he worked hard to get back to that. I think the emergence of Javonte when he came in and how he fit in with the group and his energy is kind of what I thought he needed. I threw Torrey in, for maybe 5 or 6 minutes against Atlanta, played maybe a little bit more. Forget about when the game was over, I put him back. But I kind of, with what Javonte was able to do with the group, I just kind of went with him. Tonight was a game where I felt like we were going to be doing a lot of switching on the perimeter, and there was going to be a lot of maybe potential post-up situations, and I tried to play maybe a little bit more length and size and probably decided to go with Dalen. I said this about Javon quite a bit. He always keeps himself ready when his number's called, and he's always, when he's been out of the rotation, hasn't played, he's always responded and come back well. Those two things were probably my decision today of what I thought was best for the group playing against this team tonight.
Really one.
Yeah, and Dalen got better. He really, really got better. I give him a lot of credit. He improved. He got better. That's the thing I'll take. Individually, it's a team sport, but individually, Kobe improved. Io improved. Dalen, I think, really, really got better. DeMar's a veteran. He's been around for a long time. I think Alex improved his three-point shooting. Those guys all got better throughout the course of the year, which I appreciate. And it was good to see Dalen get maybe a little bit more of an opportunity. I think the biggest reason he got more of an opportunity is he became more disciplined on how he needed to play to help our group. And that enabled him to get more minutes.
Billy,
Yeah. I'm here all night. Don't worry about it. We're not flying out.
Like, I'll let you go back to the game.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, your specialty there. So we see a lot of games. It's you're outplayed. It seems like
Yes.
in the first half by a lot. It seems like. Then you look down the box. It was 10 points. It's a 10-point game.
Yeah, I didn't.
Let me
Yeah, I'm
finish
sorry.
the question. So it looks like you're in there, 10 points, and then, it's still 10. And then toward the end of that third quarter, I think there was that inbound turnover, and then there was back and forth. There was a bunch of turnovers, and it seemed like that's where it just completely got away from you in the game.
Totally agree.
What did you see?
That's exactly right. Like, listen, scoring for us was coming harder for us than it was for them. If you want to give them credit that their defense was great, that's great. They had obviously contributed to it. I don't want to take anything away from them. I got great respect for their team and Spo and the staff, and enormous respect. So let's say they contributed to it. Even with all that being said, it's a 10-point game. Then we come out and get it down to about 6. I thought there was a few possessions that Kobe had a fast break. They got tipped from behind. There was a steal. Vooch had a drive along the baseline. He missed that layup along. Drummond got a steal. We were kind of out in transition. There was, to your point, 4 or 5 plays in a very, very tight space. To their credit, they really capitalized on. And that blew the game open where maybe it was 12, 13, 14, somewhere in that range. And it ended up going from like 12 to 20 like that. And it was those few possessions. And I agree with you. I think that we struggled, and I think we could. And listen, they probably contributed to some of it, but there was things that we could have done better. But I liked some of the things that we did do. And you know what? If like those shots are going in, if we make some of those threes, then the offense looks a little bit different. It looks a little bit different. Now, we didn't finish as well as we needed to in the lane, and I do agree. For a period of time, them putting Bam on DeMar was fine, but we were still getting stuff. Like, I like the shots that Kobe got. I really like the shots that Io got. We got to make some of them, just to kind of keep staying in the game. But when you're not shooting the ball well, and then to your point, that end of that third quarter, middle of that third quarter, when you have those 4, now all of a sudden it becomes a really difficult mountain to overcome. I agree.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, sure.
Another big picture question. You're obviously a glass half full guy, and you're typically very positive. But Zach LaVine has become a very polarizing player amongst the fan base, for better, for worse. Assuming he's on the team next season, in what form do you want to see Zach re-engage with the team, and what do you want to see from him on the court next season?
I probably need more deep. I'm not quite sure I totally understand the question in terms of what do you mean, like what do I want to see from him?
Well, how do you want to see him assimilate himself back with the team, assuming he's on the roster next season, both on and off the court?
Yeah, I would want him to be like I would want everybody else to be in our team. To sacrifice and to play hard and to compete and to play for the guy next. All those things. I wouldn't want necessarily him to come in and necessarily change his game, like be somebody he's not. You know, and again, I think some of that stuff, when all that stuff came out, you know, about trade, not like I never really got involved in any of that, you know, and you know that was between Zach and the front office and his agency, and you know, there's no reason for me to get involved. You know, I think in my conversations with Zach, it's always been about like coming off the injury, having a minute restriction, and saying, hey, listen, I think it's best you don't start right now for a couple games, just so we have you at the end of games if we need you, you know. And then, you know, obviously the frustration part of the season then coming to an end for him, you know, where now it's over with, he's having surgery, he's done. So it's always been about how we contribute and help our team. I think the biggest thing, it would be hard for me right now to say, what do I want from him until I see what our team looks like next year, you know, with everybody kind of coming back, or who's coming back and what it's going to look like. But I've always, like, I would say this, I appreciate the investment that Zach's made in the relationship with me, and I certainly tried to make an investment as well, you know. So whatever those conversations are in terms of what we need from him, you know, we've always been able to talk very directly and open and honestly, and we, you know, communicate even while, you know, he's been out with the injury. But I can't really sit there and say about like what we would need from him. It's just hard, right? I can be general, you know, want him to take open jump shots and shoot the ball when he's open, attack the paint. Like, I mean, in terms of like, what does our team need, or how do we need to play stylistically, or what, you know, what's the group look like? I think we'd have to wait to see what that looks like first.
Julia, I know you obviously with the front office, you kind of just let Arturas and Mark come to you. You don't really go to them with things, but when you finish 2 seasons without making the playoffs under 500, do you hit a point where you go to them? Like, would this be a summer where you would go to them and say, okay, things need to mix up, things need to change? And if not, like, what would that kind of breaking point be for you to maybe initiate some of those conversations rather than waiting for them to come to you?
Yeah, I mean, and I want to be clear on this. Like, when the season starts, right, when the season starts, I am totally try to invest everything I have into the team and into the group, you know, as best I can. And when the season ends, that's when there's more of those conversations. So I don't want to sit there and make it seem like we don't talk. It's just more of a situation where when the season's going, we're just not having those conversations. The team is what it is, you know, and then we're going to move forward. But, you know, it'd be nice if he came back, you know. But those conversations, and I'm very honest. We have open discussions and we talk when I'm asked the question. But like when the season's going on, there's no reason to, in my opinion. I'm just focused on the guys and what we got to do, and the games are coming so quickly, so it doesn't really make much of a difference. You know, in terms of all that stuff, nothing's going to change where we're at. Oh, yeah, there's definitely going to be conversations. You know, we'll sit down and talk, and they'll pick my brain, and I'll talk to them about stuff. That always happens, you know, and they've been really, really good, and I appreciate them, you know, at least bending my ear on opinions and thoughts and ideas and things like that.
Thank you, Billy.
All right, thank you.